3 weeks to our rest of the year journey of the fear of the Lord, a year in the wisdom of God. We're talking about, again, we're talking Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job, and it's leading us all the way up to the last Sunday of 2026. Okay? And right now we're on this path. We're deep into the trail now, right, of the path of 2026. 2 weeks ago, we stood in the library and we looked out. And we have that beautiful slide like that right there, where we're looking out and we're seeing the path and we're calibrating our compass. And we see the path is clear, but life and the life that we live is a wilderness. And sometimes that wilderness is crazy. But today I feel like there's a question we should be asking. Where does that path actually lead? I think that's an important question and to know and to understand. And the good news is Proverbs tells us. Proverbs gives us an answer. Just hit the power button. Our vacuum decided it was time to clean the building. Here, I got it. Hey, there's an app for that. It's all right. I told it to go home. It's going home. It was getting the path ready for us. That's a first. I have to look at some schedules now. That's probably my fault. Where does the path lead? It leads back to its home, is where that path leads, okay? And again, Proverbs tell us, Proverbs 9 says this. We see where the path leads, and it leads to a construction site, right? It says, wisdom has built her house. She has hewed out her 7 pillars. So we aren't just walking anymore. We're building. And I love this word hewn. To hew a stone requires the ever-repeating word that we learned in week 1 that we talked about all through January, that word hakma. It requires skill. I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry. Because, right, let's be real. You can't carve a pillar out of stone with just good intention. Right? You need the skill of a mason. You need hakma to take a hammer and a chisel to take the raw rock of your life, and hit it until it becomes a pillar, a foundational stone in your life. And this is a very important tension to remember, I think. I feel like. Right? I feel like this is our primary tension for the entire time we're walking down the path of wisdom. Whether it's clear outside, or whether the clouds are rolling in, or whether we find ourselves in the middle of a thunderstorm. And it kind of looks like this. On the right, we have what we want, the easy button. Right? We want this IKEA life prepackaged. This is the wrong picture, but that's okay. I'm going to go with it anyways. It still works. It's ready to assemble. Think of like this IKEA package, right? It comes with all the tools and everything you need. It's prepackaged. It's ready to go. It's easy. You did it. It doesn't last very long. It's IKEA, right? We want the 5 minutes to a better marriage. We want the 3 steps to peace in our lives. We want Jesus the provider while we ignore Jesus our King. But on the left is the quarry. Hewing is the process of taking the hammer to the raw, stubborn piece of rock and hitting it until everything else is gone, and it's just a pillar that stands solid. It's loud, it's dusty, it's sweaty, it's hard work. Right? This reminds me of the other day, because I love giving you stories, right? I got a sous vide for my birthday. Any other sous vide people in here? I love sous videing because I can leave it alone and walk away for 2 hours and it cooks itself, okay? I love it. I've done chicken. I've done steak. I want to try to do a Mississippi pot roast in it, but that's like a 24-hour cook, and it's intimidating. I haven't gotten there yet, okay? The other day, I wanted to make some steaks. So I took them out of the freezer because I had a couple steaks, and I put them in the fridge. Now, in my planning, getting ready to sous vide these steaks, I knew it was going to take about 2 to 2.5 hours. So I was like, I got plenty of time. I get home at 3. That puts dinner on the plate by 5:30. Great, I'm ready to go. So I stop at Publix. I get all the stuff I need to put in the bags as I vacuum seal them. When I get home, I get everything ready, and I realize something. You know what I realized? I stuck the steaks in the refrigerator. They were not thawed. They were still, for the most part, frozen. While this isn't a huge deal to the sous vide and the way you cook with sous vide, this was completely detrimental to my time frame and making sure that I could provide dinner in time for my wife and my kids before they go to bed. Right? Because what I had was a T-minus schedule. I have to do this by this time. I have to do this by this time. T-minus. I knew what time I needed things to happen in order to get things on the plate so that we could eat in a timely manner and my kids could still go to bed on time. What happened, because of this oversight in my life, it was going to take another hour to hour and a half for me to cook those steaks, which puts me at the time where my little girls are supposed to be walking and putting their heads on their pillows. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to feed a family of 6 when the steak is still frozen, when I can't get the food out in time. Thankfully, Publix is right across the street, and my kids love popcorn chicken, because that's what they got. Right? Because I had the tool. I had the sous vide. I had the intent, but I skipped the preparation. I tried to easy button a process that required time. Right? Because the truth is, you never drift into a stone temple. You only drift into a pile of cardboard. Now, again, if you're looking at that picture that we just had where the construction's happening, Proverbs 9, you have 2 houses. And only 2 houses for the street that our souls are walking down, this journey. Right? And on the left, you can see that you have Lady Wisdom. Look at her. Look at Wisdom there. Her hands are covered in dust from the quarry, the work. She's wearing a hard hat. She's active. She's working. She's building something meant to outlast herself. She's gesturing to a table of bread and fruit, food that actually nourishes our body. Look behind her. Behind her is scaffolding. Why? Because wisdom is a project. It's a never finished on this side of eternity project. You're constantly trying to build the scales to navigate this world. But in the contrast, look across the street. Look at the other house. Proverbs 9 says this about it. Folly is an unruly woman. She is mere ignorance and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house calling out to those who pass by. Notice her posture and those pretty neon lights. Get my attention lights. You can put the picture back up there, JJ. She isn't building. She's sitting. Talked about that last week. She's reclining in a velvet chair. She's in a tent that, in reality, took 10 minutes to pop up. It's flashy, it's neon, it's exclusive. She offers you her stolen water that is sweet, her secret food that is delicious. She's offering you a party. Folly's pitch is simple. Why do the hard work of hewing the stone when you can just come lounge in the neon light of the instant gratification? Or in other words, it's the easy path that leads to a shattered life. Think about any night for you personally. After a long day, whether it's a long day of meeting, of sports, of classes, of just running nonstop like you just can't catch your breath. Think of it. You're exhausted. You are completely and physically exhausted. And you have 2 choices how to spend the last couple hours of your evening. You have the passive or folly choice, where you collapse into the velvet chair of your living room and you pull out your digital GPS. You start scrolling. You aren't looking for anything. You're just drifting. And an hour later, your eyes are burning. Your mind is buzzing with 50 different things to be angry or anxious about. You feel hollow, empty, tired inside. You didn't rest. You just numbed everything. You stayed a simpleton who was open to every impulse that was in your feed. Now, on the contrast to that, the active or wise choice looks more like you choose to hew out a moment of peace. You sit at the table in the light. You open the Word to calibrate your compass. It takes effort to focus because you're so exhausted. It's hard work to pray when you're that tired. But when you put your head on the pillow, you feel a good tired. You are untouched by the troubles of the world because you traded your megaphone for the hearing aids to listen to the voice that we should be listening to anyways. Now, if you want to live in that temple on the left, we have to follow the architect's plans. In the ancient world, 7 was the number of completion. So I don't think it's an accident that it talks about hewing 7 pillars. Wisdom House stands because of 7 specific load-bearing pillars. These aren't suggestions, these are skills, these are hakma required to keep your life from collapsing when the storm hits. I kind of made you a generic blueprint. AI made you a generic blueprint. I just put it on the slide. Now, what you're going to notice as we're talking is we often call these pillars stones. Because pillars take skill to make out of stones. A pillar doesn't start as a pillar. It starts as a raw, stubborn piece of rock in a quarry. Wisdom is the process of taking those rough stones and raw parts of your character, of your life, of those things that you struggle with, and hitting them with the chisel of God's words until they become a load-bearing pillar in your life. And we're going to talk about 7 stones. 7 stones we need to work, we need to hew, we need to pound, we need to beat to be foundational truths in our life. Into the 7 pillars of the house of wisdom. The first one is this, the foundation stone, humility. Humility. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And knowledge of the Holy One is understanding, Proverbs 9 tells us. 2 weeks ago, we defined this humility as the posture of being an apprentice. Oh, you're okay, kiddo. You're okay. Humility is recognizing that God is the ocean and we're just a boat in the ocean. If this stone is off level, the rest of the architectural will naturally lean towards mockery. Because you started to believe that you're the North Star instead of following the North Star. It is the humble recognition that God is that ocean and that you're the boat. That God is the master who's sitting in the seat and I'm just sitting at his feet. You cannot carve a pillar if you think you're already the master because you already think it's a pillar. This is the hard work of resigning as the North Star of your own life and redirecting and reorientating yourself to the true North Star, Jesus, the King. The second stone that we need to hew, and these aren't in any particular order, I just gave them cool names, is the framework stone. Instruction. Instruction, or musar, in Hebrew really is this picture of a teachable spirit. A teachable spirit. The mocker thinks the blueprints is just a suggestion and hates being corrected even by a piece of paper. Without this stone, you're just a simpleton who is open to every opinion on your feed, but closed to the only voice who actually knows the way to hew the stone. The work here happens when we stop using our megaphone to prove that you're right, and we start using our hearing aids to listen to the one voice we should be listening to. I told you those questions are going to be paramount to this message. I am always with you. You can ask me anything, but only listen to my voice. Next is the window stone, the lintel, prudence. Prudence is foresight. It is the ability to look through the library window. You can kind of see it in the background. It kind of works out here. Right? And Proverbs says that prudence sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple keep going and pray or pay for the penalty, right? Prudence is the skill of stops us from being naive. It refuses to let us to say, I'm the exception to the rule, when you can clearly see the danger signs on the ramp. We talked about that last week. The GPS is telling you to turn down a ramp into the water. And prudence says, no, I see the sign. I'm not doing that. You're wrong. I'm listening to the voice of the master, not the voice of the GPS. So how do you work on this stone? How do you work on the stone of prudence? The simpleton just drifts wherever the wind blows, but the prudent person can look at the ducks on the boat ramp and hit the brakes before they hit the water. The next stone is the support stone of discipline. Whoever disregards discipline comes to poverty and shame, but whoever heeds correction is honored. Discipline is the internal structure that keeps the weight of the world from crushing you. It's the daily grind of chiseling and hitting the stone. It is the discipline to stay under the hammer when God is chipping away something that you want to desperately hold on to. This is the muscle of Hakma. It is the stamina to keep climbing the ladder towards wise when the gravity of your own heart is pulling you back down into the muck, into the dirt, in the places of being a mocker. This looks more like the daily no to the easy path of Lady Folly. So you can start maintaining the straight path of wisdom. Discipline is followed by the threshold stone of purity. Purity. Why threshold? Because Proverbs says this, above all else, guard your heart. For everything you do flows from it. Guard what goes in because everything else comes out. Don't let it pass the threshold. This is your front door. The simpleton has no front door. It has no filter. Anything can walk in, any opinion, any trend, any impulse. A house with no door is just a hallway for the digital GPS to dump its anger, its anxiety, its frustration, its bitterness all into your soul until you are too empty, tired to even function for your king. Purity, on the other hand, is actively guarding of that door. It's deciding that, please hear this, because this is one of those things where I don't want you to misunderstand me. This is actively guarding that door. This is deciding, listen, your truth doesn't get to live in the house if it contradicts the truth. If it contradicts the truth of Jesus, it's not allowed to stay. The next stone we have is the plumbing stone. That's a fun one. Integrity. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely. But whoever takes crooked paths will be found out, right? Integrity is what happens behind the gold-leafed wallpaper of your life. This is making sure that your private ladder matches up with your public ladder, which I found out last week from Liz. There's an actual a therapy term called congruence, where that's what you're doing. You're making what's happening on the inside matching what's on the outside, so you're not putting on a face. Who knew? She did. I didn't. Integrity is refusing to be a fool who delights in appearing right on the outside while drinking the stolen water of secret sin and rotting the beams on the inside. But I actually think I can give you a picture to help you see this. I created AI again for this, to drive this home. This is what I'm talking about. Fancy, your pipes are dissolving and rusting. And what you're letting out is just everything else, to include gold. ADD, air drummer disorder. Work here is deciding to be raw, as we believe here at New Day Church, real, raw, and authentic, confessing. Work here is the decision to be raw rather than hidden. It's choosing to shine the light into every nook and crevice of your life, to find the rusty pipes, to find the leaky pipes, and fix them. Fix the rust, the secret habits, before the whole house begins to stink with the thing that's dead inside your walls. Lastly, the roof stone, or diligence. The plans of the diligent leads to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Diligence is the long obedience. It's the stamina and the perseverance we talked about in week 1. Diligence is what separates the lifelong listener from the person who crams for wisdom the night before the crisis hits. Diligence is showing up to the quarry when you're tired. Because we all know this. Haste builds a tent. Stone into pillars. Now, if I'm standing up here, I'm going to be completely real and raw with you guys. When I look at my own blueprint and my 7 pillars, the pillar I'm sweating over in the quarry is that stone of discipline. The daily grind is hard. It's hard to hear when you're pastoring a church. You're running a 45-hour-a-week job, plus week job. You're parenting 4 kids, and you're still trying to be a good husband to your wife and a good friend to your friends. But here's the truth. Busyness is often the enemy of discipline. I find myself making excuses. I tell myself stuff like, I'm too tired to pick up the chisel today. I tell myself, I deserve a break, so I'm going to pick up the phone instead of the word. And that is dangerous because we remember what Proverbs 13 tells us. A mocker does not respond to rebukes. When I get too tired or I get too busy, I stop listening and I start getting defensive. And I've noticed this a lot this week. How quickly I jump to anger and frustration with my kids. One of them is 4. But when the Holy Spirit speaks, or my friends speak, or my wife speaks, and sometimes, let's be real, even when my kids speak to try to correct me, I get angry. I become defensive. I start treating their discipline like an interruption instead of instructions. So for me, the work this week isn't just working harder or doing more work. It's stopping. It's putting the phone down. It's looking at my wife in the eyes when she says something hard and saying, thank you for striking the chisel. I needed that. That's the hard work of building the house that lasts. So then, why do we do it? Why do we need to endure the chisel and the work it takes to hew 7 pillars? Because here's the truth. Eventually, the construction stops and the dinner begins. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewed her 7 stones, and now she has set a table for you. And it looks like this. On the left, you see wisdom's table. This is the result of hewing the stones. This is the golden hour of life we talked about in week 1. The light is bright. The food is real. Your soul is satisfied because the pillars are solid. And the plate is clean. It's important when you eat. There's no need for mask or secrets. Wisdom invites you to leave your simple ways and to live a life on the path. But again, look at the right. This is the table Lady Folly sets for you. She promises you that it will be a party. But look at the reality. It's a dark, cold, secret room. Because Folly's pitch is always that stolen water is sweet and food eaten in secret is delicious. Notice the mess on the table. The food isn't a feast. It's junk that leaves you empty, tired. Notice the mask at Folly's table. You have to hide because you haven't done the work of integrity. Proverbs 9 gives us the terrifying fine print of this invitation when it says, but little do they know the dead are there, that her guests are deep in the realm of the dead. Folly offers a shortcut to satisfaction that ends in the morgue. Wisdom offers a hard project that leads to the tree of life. As we look at these 2 tables and these 7 stones, we have to be honest. Our hands are tired from the quarry. Our stone is cracked. We look at our integrity pipes and we realize they're just already rusted through. 2 weeks ago, we realized that the gap was too large to do on our own. We cannot hustle our way into the perfect house. This is where we have to posture ourselves towards the master, towards our king, and resume the posture of being the apprentice instead of the king. We follow Jesus, who is our cornerstone that was rejected and despised. He is the only one who perfectly hewed all 7 pillars. He was perfectly humble. He was perfectly prudent. He was perfectly pure. He didn't just give us a blueprint. He became the foundation for us to build on. He allowed his temple, his body to be torn down on the cross so he could rebuild yours and he could rebuild mine from the inside out. In an IKEA set. It's hewed out of a lifetime at the master's feet. So today, New Day family, New Day friends, let's be those people. Let's be a people who carry the dust of the quarry on our hands and the grace of the King in our hearts. Let's be known as people who stop looking for shortcuts and start looking for the master himself. May the world see our pillars and know they were carved by the hands of Jesus, our master, as we walk through this thing called life. Let's pray. King Jesus,